We think it's going to be called the Wikicast or something like that.
Yeah.
The point of this is it's going to be a podcast where we go onto Wikipedia and click the random article button, and then we just ramble. It's like a tour guide with like Alzheimer's. Welcome to the best of the Wikicast, Year 1.
Hello, I'm Dan.
I'm Simon.
And this is the Wikicast, a podcast where Wikipedia takes us to a random article each week and we talk about what we find. Simon, what are we talking about this week?
This week, Dan, we're talking about Krauschwitz.
Cook and Becker.
Tecmo Super Bowl 2 Special Edition.
Chair. Brackets, sculpture.
Minay Shmyryov.
I'll be the tornado.
Okay. You choose to identify as a jet fighter. History of rail transport in Mozambique.
2001, a space travesty.
Datatec. Datatec Limited, also known as Datatec Group, is a Johannesburg, South Africa-based multinational information and communications technology (brackets ICT) solutions and services group. The company's Datatec Financial Services and Analysis Mason, which provide financing, telecommunications, media and technology, and consulting services. It is the most boring company I think I've ever heard of in my entire life.
I mean, I'm pinching myself just to stay awake here.
Okay, so we haven't always had the most interesting articles, but over the past year, we've had some pretty great moments. Because, after all, the show is much more than just Wikipedia. You've got me, you've got Dan, you've got our guests, and of course we have you, our fans, who write the weirdest goddamn fanfictions, and yes, they're going to be included in this episode. In this special episode, I've edited together some of our greatest hits, except they were never that great to begin with, so these are our mediocrest hits, I guess. Unfortunately, Dan's on tour, so he can't be here, but I thought instead of not releasing anything this week, like we normally do, this would be a fun compilation to put together and do a few little intros for, celebrating the past year. So, to begin with, here are some of the best bits of just Dan and I. I was thinking, you know how Gimli, as in from The Lord of the Rings, it's a Scottish dwarf accent.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant that other Gimli.
The dwarven accent is generally regarded to be Scottish, right?
I beg your pardon, say all that again, I wasn't listening.
The dwarven accent is generally regarded to be Scottish, right?
Yes.
It's like, we're very dangerous over short distances, that kind of thing. I was imagining, how funny would it be if all the dwarves were Welsh?
Yeah.
Like, there's this belief there are no dwarf women. They just spring out of holes in the ground.
With my bow, my sword, and my sheep.
We dwarves are natural sprinters. Very dangerous over short distances.
I'm the only gay dwarf in the village.
We've sent Frodo to his death.
I'm sorry for all Welsh listeners. We do have a bit of a habit of picking on you. It's because we love you. We love you the most.
Never thought I died side by side with an elf. At the moment, Welsh Gimli is my favourite thing.
That's now downstairs, the HomePod, or they had one on the launch day downstairs. So working up on the Genius Bar, which is on the top floor, we'd be shouting down from the balcony and be like, "Hey, Siri, play Cha-Cha Slide," and get all the other employees working downstairs to like start dancing around with customers.
I was waiting for it. Waiting for it.
Now playing Cha-Cha Slide for dinner next DJ.
And we're gonna let it play for 6. There we go. Okay, that's quite enough.
Oh, amazing! That's phenomenal. Presumably, I'm not on speaker, right?
No, sadly not.
Oh, damn it.
Because I know what you used to do.
Yes, I used to tell Siri to search for child porn so it would appear on your Google history.
Yeah, you are a sick and twisted man.
I'm a good friend.
It's quite funny though, because I must have had some drinks a while ago. Kind of shock horror, and I unwittingly set my nickname to My Prince. So I asked it a question the other day when I was demonstrating what the Siri function does on the Genius Bar in an appointment. I said, look, you can tell it to set a timer. And interestingly, if that timer's like for 3 minutes in the morning or like before 10 o'clock, Siri will assume that you're cooking an egg because that's the most common thing. And it was around that time. And I was like, so, and I'm not going to say the bit because my phone will go off. But I said, set a timer for 3 minutes. And Siri replied with, okay, my prince, enjoy your eggs. And I'm like, oh, that's really embarrassing.
We definitely set it to worse than that before.
We've set it to category C swear words. Yeah.
Yeah, I think specifically we were like, okay, call me destroyer. I was waiting for that to go off in public, and it never did. Yeah. If you were to have a sitcom made about your life, what would it be? It'd be like I'm imagining like the soft focus, like you're in focus as you walk into like the Apple store, and it's like, meet Daniel, the newest employee of the Apple store in Exeter. He's got a dark secret. I'm actually just a bunch of mice in a human suit.
Yeah, it's true.
And it zooms into your head, and it's just a bunch of mice. It's not even like they're organized. It's a thriving mass of mice, like thousands of them, all pressed up against each other.
It would all also be incredibly symmetric in shot. Like I'm thinking Wes Anderson-esque, because then it also means I can wear the clothes that all the people wear in Wes Anderson films, which is just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. So we've got this ultra stylish thing, but then on the inside, it's just, I don't know why, you're a human suit full of mice.
I mean, it's fairly accurate.
Every time you walk past the cheese shop, the whole body just like shudders.
It just shakes uncontrollably. It's like the effect that you get when characters in Harry Potter take Polyjuice potion.
Oh,
my skin just bubbles.
All these mice trying to get out. Also explains why you hate cats.
True. You see, it's all coming to light.
It's all coming together.
I'm actually a mouse man.
And your squeaky, high-pitched voice.
The Mouse Prince, that's what they call me. The Mouse Prince. That's also, hang on, now that I believe I am unwittingly referencing a Harry Potter senior year with Gilderoy Lockhart's dream to be shrunk down to become the Mouse Prince. And it's a very, very weird. They did it at LeakyCon live, and Ivana Lynch was in it, and it's great, fantastic music though.
Little does he know, he's the Mice Prince.
Yeah.
Like another person who's made of mice turns up. And they're like, we've got to send you off on this quest to become leader of all the mice. And you're like, but I'm not a mouse. And then they're like, I don't know. They cut you for some reason at this point in your life. You've gone your whole life without never being cut. And then like they cut you, and like a little mouse head pops out of your arm. And it's like, hello, Governor. I'm Lydia Johnson.
You're a mouse, Danny. I'm a what? A mouse. And a damn good night, wager. But I'm Danny. Just Danny.
Oh.
Well, just Danny. You are a mouse.
Not just a mouse. Thousands.
The Mouse Prince.
Do you reckon you could have a superpower where, like, if need be, like almost like Mr. Potato in Toy Story 3, like all the mice just evacuate your body, and like you're just a skin suit that falls to the ground, and then they can like go between the bars of things like prisons, and they track your skin.
Yeah, well, it would be just like the scene where when Peter Pettigrew like morphs back into his mouth, and he just kind of like he shrinks back into his clothes, and the clothes just fall. I always thought that effect was so cool.
No, but like that, but instead of clothes, it's literally like a morph suit of skin.
Like, God, that's gross.
It's just the most disgusting thing. Dan is a morph suit of skin.
We'd like to thank our sponsors, Morph Suits, for this episode.
Oh, no one was sponsored this shit, Dan. Oh my God. But yeah, no, Ed has been a particularly egregious breaker of rules when it comes to film.
There was an amazing. Are you going to talk about the popcorn incident?
Oh no, what was the popcorn incident?
We went and saw, now I think it was Guardians of the Galaxy 2. We were sitting in it was in View, one of the big screens. And we were there with there were quite a lot of chapel folk. And we'd seen, it was the midnight release. And we were sitting at the back, and Ed, he got up midway through the film and needed to go to the bathroom, which is another thing that pisses me off. Like, a forward plan. It's like you're going on a car journey. You wee at home. Come on. Anyway, he got out to go, and to try and like not draw attention to himself, he was bent quite low and kind of quickly ran down the stairs in the centre aisle to get out, so he wasn't going to get in the way of people. What he didn't realise was, because it's very dark and he can't see anything, the speed at which he was taking these stairs meant that if he bumped into something, things wouldn't go well. And what didn't go well is that he managed to perfectly drop kick a massive box of popcorn, and what I can only describe as an explosion on the screen, as in people were watching and they suddenly saw like a party popper go off, popcorn go this thing flew right the way down. Like, oh, it was so funny. And then Ed being Ed suddenly stands up and it's like, oh, sorry.
The sound effects of him running, he's just like, oh, it's just got, sorry, and boom!
Yeah, honestly,
popcorn
it was
flies everywhere.
I remember Michael was sitting next to me and he was just like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, it was amazing. It was hilarious. I was crying with laughter.
If we're going to tattletale about cinema stories, we have to mention, I can't remember what we went to see. It was just the two of us, though. We went to see something
I remember
in
this.
again.
Yeah.
And it was when we were imagine there are two sets of seats and there's like an aisle in the middle, and we were sat on the second set of seats as you come away from the door. And so what I did was what a normal person would do, which is go up the middle aisle and then just walk across. But because the seats were at the far end, you were like, no, Dan's smarter than that. Dan's going to go up around the back of the second set of seats, and proceeded to just walk at full pace straight into the wall, because there wasn't a gap between the seats and the wall. So you were just like, yeah, watch this. This is going to be it was like a Looney Tunes cartoon. The permanent representative of Colombia to the United Nations is the permanent representative of the Republic of Colombia to the United Nations.
Wow.
I know, right? It's like Fight Club. Accredited.
Are you having a stroke, mate? You're right.
Why can't I read that? Accredited.
Accredited.
There you
It's
go.
like pocketed it in Harry Potter in the Stephen Fry. Yeah.
Okay, so he pocketed it as. I can't say it. Oh my god! I feel I'm being rushed.
Because you want to say accredited, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I just can't, apparently.
Glad we cleared that up.
Accredited. Hang on, this is scintillating listening. Accredited as concurrent non-resident ambassador to the Republic of Kosovo and Montenegro. Wait, what?
This wouldn't be necessary if you just treated a block of cheese like a normal human being.
What do you think, readers? Are you with me on this one? I did have somebody who we're going to get onto the toast point. Somebody did tweet.
Oh, we are definitely in agreement. You're not getting away with that either.
Right, let me introduce this one then, as soon as you introduce that one. I don't know how much of a British meal this is, or if it is like a global thing, but you call them dippy egg soldiers, don't you?
I call them dippy egg and soldiers.
Dippy egg and soldiers. Well, I just call them egg and soldiers.
Because you're unfeeling and just generally a bit of a dick. Sorry, what were you saying?
Which is you boil a couple of eggs, like 2 maybe, and you have bread and butter with it, and the idea is that you boil the egg and you dip the bread in. You might have salt or ketchup or whatever. But when I was for my entire life, the way that my parents have always done it is you butter the bread, you boil the eggs, and that's it. You know, you dip the bread in the egg. Whereas Dan insists that I'm doing this wrong and that you're supposed to do it as toast.
I can guarantee. All you need to do to prove that I'm right. Which I mean, this happens quite regularly. Whenever does this happen regularly? No, because I haven't finished. If it's something to do with science or doing something logical, then I rarely take cause to question your attitudes and your actions when you're doing something. However, when it's something that I'm going to go as far as to say common sense or normal. Okay, and so to prove my point. Go to Google now.
All right.
Search in dippy egg and soldiers.
Dippy egg.
And read me the recipe that you find. Now, I'm looking at Simon's face through a webcam, so I'll know if he's lying, and he won't be lying, because he will see that it's telling him to toast the fucking bread.
Hang on, these are all right. Okay. It says here that I have network connectivity problems.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to grate that first, and then you want to start on your eggs.
I'm looking at the Jamie Oliver one here. And
it's all right, it should be near the bottom.
Actually, hang on. I'm literally not seeing reference to any bread in this. Oh, it says optional crusty bread. And he isn't mentioning anything about toasting it.
All right, let's find
the first result on Google.
Is Jamie Oliver is the first result?
Yeah.
Is it just dippy eggs, or is that the one where he talks about like
asparagus and stuff in it.
Oh yeah, Kerry Ann's dippy eggs and asparagus soldiers.
So you're already trying to...
No, I googled
asparagus
dippy eggs and
soldiers.
soldiers, and I clicked the first result.
Ladies and,
as you
Your
told
Honour,
me to do.
Your Honour, asparagus soldiers are not the same. Of course you wouldn't toast fucking asparagus. Now go and find a proper recipe. Don't try and
I
worm your way
did
out of
what
this.
you told me to do. I googled it and I clicked the first result.
Oh, now you're splitting hairs. You're being pedantic.
All right,
Find a
Delicious
proper
Magazine says toast soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
There's Marmite soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Which
See, why don't you do that?
I've not tried that, but they don't toast it.
I'd go as far to say I'd be less averse to you having Marmite on toast with your soldiers than just having bread, because that is just
It doesn't make that
mental.
much of a difference. Come on.
It's ludicrous. It's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Of
all the things in this world that you could pick as your
benefit of
battleground to die on.
Dippy eggs and soldiers. You've got the combination of nice, warm, gooey egg with crunchy, warm, buttery toast. That in your mouth. What you're doing is you're ruining it. You're ruining it completely by having nice, warm, dippy egg.
Yeah.
With cold, already soft and now very soggy bread.
Yeah, but it's like when you put use bread to mop up gravy, for example.
Yeah, that's completely fine, because that's not dippy eggs and soldiers.
Yeah, but it's the same consistency. It's just soggy bread, according to you.
No.
Also, it doesn't get cold.
I think the problem is that Simon was actually a duck in his previous life, and he just can't get away from the appeal of soggy bread.
I did used to feed ducks a lot when I was a kid. I specifically remember feeding a lot of ducks.
Did you feed them toast?
Difficult to explain briefly. Basically, I'm having to do another long computer run this week, and when that's available this weekend, I can just go let my blood become about 70% Red Bull and not sleep.
Yeah.
And just go all out, because no one's going to be around to take care of me or to tell me to stop. So I'm just going to continue to eat remainder of birthday cake that Mum made for me and drink Red Bull. And by the time you guys get back, see just how much I could have done, because there are 2 chapters which are kind of half done, need a lot of work, but are getting there, and I'm going to be shattered. So basically what we're saying is this podcast is shit. It's going to be shit for the foreseeable future. Don't get your hopes up. Why on earth are we asking for money on Patreon? Why did we even think that fucking advertisers were ever going to want to put shit on their shit on this shit? It's going to be like a shit mountain where it's going to be a totem pole, but everything is shit. If you go from the bottom to the top, it goes shit. That sounded like a fucking Daft Punk song, because I've had to censor all those shits. And I hope you're happy. Jesus Christ, I'm having a fucking meltdown here. I'm moving away from the computer. Oh my God, what am I doing with my life? I've got so much to do. Dan's crying. You made it this far. Well done. You made it to the fucking Easter egg. Simon has a meltdown live on air. It's not even live. What am I doing? But no, I don't want to magnify my computer 200 times. Why would you do that? Oh, fuck me, Dad. I've broken my computer. I don't even know what I'm doing. Jesus wept.
Yeah, he certainly did.
I've
got to be at the cathedral I've got to be at the cathedral in an hour to do this Evensong thing, and I'm really excited, but I'm also a little bit absolutely terrified.
I've enabled magnifier mode on Google Chrome, and I have no idea how I'm meant to fix this.
God.
Oh no, it's good. Okay, we're good. I'm a genius, it turns out.
Okay.
Right, so to stop me, I hit the microphone. Sorry if that was wobbly, viewers, and I'm sorry if I just had to apologise for something that didn't affect your viewing experience. I'm going to keep going in a stream of consciousness like this, and we're going to go to Correspondence Corner. Dan, what's our first email? Hurry up! What's our first email?
We have our first email.
Hurry up! This isn't happening fast enough. Yeah. I want to be done.
George M.
I'm in the house.
Yes. I mean, it's... I'll give you that.
This is very strange.
Dan's visiting for reasons which we'll come on to very shortly. But we're actually recording the podcast for the first time in God even knows how long.
Months and months and months.
I'll have to have a look at the Podbean. But I don't even know.
When did you move out?
When would it have been? It would have been September 2017.
Yeah.
So this is the first episode.
So in nearly 7 months.
I think this might be the first time we've recorded together since episode 10.
Gosh. And this is episode 31.
Yeah, episode 31. So we're in the same room. We're using the same setup. Dan might sound a little different.
I might, I'm not using my my Rode USB.
Yeah, and I'm on my normal microphone, but we now have a sexy audio setup. Whereas before, we'd had a really janky, like everything in this podcast, it was all really kind of ramshackle.
Yeah.
And, now I actually have Dan's audio is being beamed directly into my computer along with mine.
It's so efficient.
It's
very premium.
We also try to mark up, to sort of show how the sausage is made when we make these podcasts, because we both record locally and then Dan sends me his files. I have to synchronize them, and so what we do is go 3, 2, 1, mark. And very good.
Yeah, nice.
Or I'd rather have a bowl of
I like how you said, very good, like, yeah, we were really in sync then. We're together. This is the point.
I thought, I don't know, I wasn't expecting you to join in.
There you go.
I'm
It's
not
even weirder in that I can't see you.
Yeah, that's
the timing's still so good.
That's the other thing, is that we were so weirded out by seeing each other that we've literally erected ourselves, and we also put a sheet between us.
Yeah.
So Dan
a
can
bed
see my
sheet
silhouette. We're actually in bed. That's how we're going to do this. We put this, it's actually a diffuser screen between us, so we can't see each other. Because we were just, to be fair, if it wasn't for that, I'd just be staring at you, and it would be really strange.
It would be weird. It makes it us kind of realise how weird it was when we first started recording this, just to stare at each other while we spoke.
Yeah, well, I mean, as most people have in what they call a normal conversation, we just, I don't know, we just had microphones there. Whereas this time, because there's quite a bit of distance between us. We're in my office studio type thing, and there's 10 feet between us.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like having a conversation with somebody that you're afraid of catching some infectious
Speaking
disease.
of feet, all I'm watching at the moment is your feet, your little curled up toes.
Dancing around. My feet move around quite a lot when we record.
Yeah, I didn't realise. I usually sit, even if I'm sitting recording at my desk, I always sit cross-legged.
Yes, I noticed that, actually.
It's just my natural stance,
your
if
supple,
you like.
malleable body.
My nimble frame.
Nimble limbs.
Yeah.
Actually, the other thing we should mention is, as well as the T-shirts, we'll also be finally, they've been sat on my desk for a month, and some of you already have them, we'll finally be selling Wikicast laptop stickers,
Hey.
which are really, as Cameron...
I should probably sound a little bit more excited.
Yeah.
Hey. That means, can I have one?
Yeah, hang on, I'll slide... Hang on. Oh, I'm going to go beyond the sheet, everyone. Hang on.
God.
There you go.
Oh!
Oh,
Why have you taken all your clothes off, Simon?
Why fully erect? So what have you been watching, Dan? I just talked for ages. What have you watched?
This is the thing. I'm going to level with you here. I haven't really watched anything. I've been prepping for
You come in here
secret thing today.
on the day my daughter is to be married. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm out. I can't do this anymore.
He's gone. That's it. That's the end, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us. I suppose at this point we need to formally announce the ending of the Wikicast. It's been a really fun journey, but it's just not going to work because Dan doesn't watch enough. There he is. He's really good with dealing anger management. He's fantastic. I mean, you've got to give him credit. I do annoy him, but he's just so good at internalizing that pain and really kind of, keeping it under wraps.
Okay,
right. Simon, so what have you watched this week?
Nothing really. Now, over the past few months, Dan and I have been welcoming a series of guests to the podcast, and they've provided us with some of our favourite moments, such as when Dan got drunk, overslept, and nearly missed recording his own podcast. Over to Sally and I. So how tall is this hairstyle?
So this hairstyle is 2,330 metres, or for Simon, because earlier he was describing distances in inches and feet. Honestly, Mr. British Doctor of Physics, how dare you? It's 7,650 feet in elevation.
It's a perfectly acceptable colloquial unit of measurement.
It's not.
Sometimes
to be honest,
imperial's
though,
okay.
If someone was to tell you that it's 2,000 metres or 7,500 feet, I have no idea what that actually means. I have no reference for that.
What? Oh, I was going to say something really clever then, and I just refreshed my Twitter feed, and someone sent me a GIF of me sledging with the caption "When you find a nut," which has just completely pushed any intelligent thoughts from my brain. Yeah,
Blame it on the GIF, Simon. Blame it on the GIF.
What you were saying was, it's just big, right? As soon as you say, it's this many thousand units of anything.
But I'm looking at the map, and it doesn't look the photo. Sorry, and it doesn't look that big. Like, I don't know, how big is Mount Everest?
29,002 feet. I think.
Let me just bring it up.
Hang on, that was the initial estimate.
29,029 feet.
Oh, I was so close.
How did you know that? How did you know that?
I think it was because on Twitter the other day, it was a QI fact. The initial estimate was exactly 29,000 feet, but the dude thought that no one was going to believe him, so he added 2 feet just to be like, to make it look more believable. So I think that's why that was in my brain.
So it is approximately 4 times bigger than Wilkins Peak.
That's still quite... So hang on, how tall was Wilkins Peak again?
Wilkins Peak is 29,000 feet, or 8,008... No, wait, that's Mount Everest.
It's massive!
Wilkins Peak is 2,330 metres, or 7,650 feet.
Hang on, wait a second. A challenger has appeared. Dan, are you in the call?
A challenger has appeared. I am here. Hello.
He's finally made it. It's Ollie Mars.
Sorry, I was so busy
my
in the Apple store, that I just kind of lost track of time.
It's literally
but
me.
then I had
That's
to come back
perfect.
from the library, so sorry about that. Right, back here now, chaps.
For reference, Dan, Sally wanted to do the whole episode pretending to be you, and
I did.
I see.
really did.
Okay.
Where have you
Sorry,
been?
I got lost in some little nook of the Apple store, and but it's all right now.
I was ensconced in this nook.
I was very much so. No, I completely forgot that this was happening today.
Knew it!
I'm not gonna lie.
How
I bloody knew it!
Dare you, Daniel Moore?
I may have got a
dare
little overexcited in realising that because it's Easter Sunday, I didn't have work, which meant I may or may not have gone out last night. And feeling a little worse for wear, not going to lie. But here we go. We're here.
Christ wasn't the only one who rose from the dead
show
this
on the
morning,
road.
I've done a couple things like that. It's quite an adventure.
Yeah.
We've done it a few times as bonus content for our show, exclusively with movies where young girls from the city move out to a ranch to save their family's ranch, and they befriend horses and have to win a race or whatever in order to make sure their ranch doesn't get foreclosed.
Yeah.
It's a terrible genre, and there's hundreds of them.
Really?
And, yeah.
That's awesome,
it's a
though. I want to
mess.
watch one now.
Can you recommend us some titles?
You can absolutely predict. You can. I can already think about the plot for most of these. Must be something along the lines of: girl goes back, realizing that actually that she gets to the first week on the farm. She's like, "Oh my god,
I hate it.
it's so great." There's no phones or malls and things.
There's a large, muscly white guy with long brown hair.
Well, I was thinking more, but actually, it turns out that when she was mucking out one of the stables, and she has an encounter with one of these horses, and she ends up really liking this horse, and then she has the kind of the person who owns the ranch. She's like, "Oh, you should go and try racing one of these horses," you see. And then she goes for her first race, and she doesn't do so well. But it's that determination and the cheering that she needs.
I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna win.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it again. Yeah. And she does, and she wins, and then
she wins the race, and she also wins the heart of the muscly man.
Yeah, there you go.
Who she bumped into once in the stables with his top off, and she didn't realise that she was there. And
she mistook it. She mistook him for the horse.
Yeah.
It was
and then she found one.
Yeah,
but not the one she was looking for.
Yeah, that's not that far off, honestly.
Amazing.
There's usually also an element of it where it's there's a single parent involved, and the kid comes with the single parent and doesn't want to be there, but the kid ultimately ends up being the one who saves the ranch.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah.
I'm now imagining the movie poster for this, and it's Dan is the muscly topless man.
Yeah.
This girl comes across you, you see the back of the girl's head, and or maybe her mouth, her hand commit to her mouth,
yeah.
And then you're mucking at a stable.
Or it's just me in the background, and it's my head photoshopped onto the top of a Shetland pony, something really a really small kind of. I should also say, because that was a glorious moment that you'll hear in the audio where my voice just completely broke midway through me trying to say the word pony. I've been singing basically all day yesterday and all day today as part of being up at Homerton College for their tour, and it's shot my voice to pieces. We're taking such big music and we don't break, and it's 10
your voice does.
10 till 5:30 each day. So I apologise, readers, if
what I now want to do, based on this discussion, is write a movie about a horse from the city that goes back to the human village.
Yeah, that's nearly almost Madagascar, isn't it?
I've not actually seen Madagascar.
It's hilarious because King Julian is in it, voiced by Sacha Baron Cohen.
It's not Sacha Baron
yeah,
Cohen.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, he makes those films. He's so he's so funny.
Very, very exciting times. So thank you so much.
And Dan appreciates you so much that he's now. Wait, where are you going, Dan?
I'm leaving. I'm going to go and have a shower and then leg it to the cathedral.
I do love that we appreciate you so much. And now I'm off. And
yeah. It's really, really great.
Shirking my duties.
Terrible.
But yes, I've got to leg it because I've massively it today. So wish me luck, basically.
Very good. Okay, right. Well, nice for you to join us for our podcast, Dan.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. It's been really nice.
In fact, can someone just... All you have to do to change me into Dan is just remove the glasses and turn the hair ginger. So I think we should just change the Wikicast logo for this episode.
For this one episode.
Yeah. Because in terms of hairstyles, the hair shape is pretty similar.
Yeah, pretty spot
I think
on.
I can do that. Okay, right. Well, you go off, Dan, and Sam and I will say thank you to our lovely Patreons.
Yes. It was lovely to see you.
Bye.
It's a podcast.
Bye.
I haven't seen you.
I can see you I saw you on the webcam for a little bit.
All right, you little pernickety bit.
Yeah, little
okay,
pernickety
right.
bit.
I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Oh, thank he's gone. Okay, so
Could you hear those voices, or was that just in my head?
Well, every now and again, I get this really annoying high-pitched whine that's like kind of Australian in my ears. I just I learned to
mine's
ignore
more formal British.
Well, is yours a lower-pitched whine?
Mine's more of a kind of like, oh yeah, I'm here and I've got this Wild West thing that I think everyone needs to watch.
Is that David Attenborough recommending series on Netflix?
It does sound like that, doesn't it?
However, the best part of the Wikicast is, and always has been, you, our listeners. We look forward to your correspondence every single week, not least because sometimes your emails result in gold like, well, this.
The urine of poop. The urine and poop of cows also considered to have medicinal and antibacterial properties.
Sorry. The urine of poop.
Yeah, I got a little ahead of myself there.
I'm sorry. That really got me. The urine of poop.
The urine of poop.
It's like if you asked a 4-year-old to come up with the most disgusting thing you could think of. The urine of poop.
That's lovely.
Sorry, carry on.
The urine and poop of cows are also considered to have medicinal and antibacterial properties. Hindus use cows during... Oh no, oh god, I've completely gone. Hindus use cow's dung a lot, especially in rural areas. We have an email here from Megan. She says, Dear Sirs, I'm trying to remain Switzerland on the name debate because I firmly believe it should either be Dan and Simon or Clark and Moore, depending on how you're being addressed. There was a segment on Radio 1 earlier this week which featured translations of English songs into other languages, which I thought was perfect for the Wikicast, given your always entertaining attempts at speaking in foreign languages. And Dutch Barbie Girl was a particular favourite of mine.
Well, this might have to be... I quite like the idea of doing this in a future podcast, trying to sing... Because, Pixel Girl will sing Disney. She listens to Disney, but the translated versions in French and Spanish. Yeah. So hang on, right? Can we both listen to this? If I include us listening to this in the podcast,
hang on, I'm gonna have to play it on my phone. Give me a sec. It's just an ad I've got to wait for. Ariana Grande, get out of my face. Get out of here.
My name is Mr. Wilson, and I'm here to stay. I'm gonna smack your ass in a major A. What you doing in my basement, kid? Get out of here. Get out of here. Right, 3, 2, 1, play.
Oh, f***'s sake, I'm watching the English one.
Oh, you...
I was like, oh, this is really funny, but it's all in English.
Oh my god, you idiot. You...
Okay, right, I've got the Dutch one now.
Right, we're not gonna do that again. We've already f***ed it up twice.
Oh, Dutch is hilarious.
Give her to hectic events. Also, like, hey Barbie. It's just like a dog bark.
Wow, God, it's so pitchy as well.
Yeah.
Wow, that is hilarious.
Tomorrow.
No, that's great. Oh, that's brightened my day. To further the lad titles and the tiers of ladity, as I'm going to christen it.
There's the priest, and then there's the ladity.
Yeah, gentlemen, in reference to the nascent.
Yeah, nascent.
What does that mean?
Like newly created.
Ah, there you go. Learn something every day. In reference to the nasal feudal system.
The feudal system is now arriving in 1435.
Mind the gap. System developing for the podcast. I quite approve. Top lad is definitely roughly equivalent to knight, and as far as higher ranks, please consider the following: Grand Exalted Lad, Most Excellent Lad, Lad Master General, and positions below top lad: Knight of Laddom, Laddery, Lad Companion, and lad.
I like lad companion. It's like a slight promotion. It's like, we found your email moderately entertaining. You are now a lad companion, as we dub them over the shoulders.
Yeah.
So I'm still thinking about the nasal feudal system. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Mind the Black Death, now arriving in London.
Yes.
So that's interesting. Okay, I need to learn more about India generally, actually, because obviously there's a billion people there, and whoa!
Sorry.
Jesus!
Sorry.
That was an amazing stage. It's all happening.
Thank you very much.
You sound like Michael Jackson.
God, I think my Shimon! Okay. Oh, God, I think my temporal lobe just flew out my left nostril and hit the back wall.
Yahoo!
Goodness.
Michael, do you want a tissue?
God.
Oh, my God.
It's a tissue.
Just a bunch of idiots laughing at sneezes and urine and poop. And then finally, the fanfictions. I know you've been waiting for this, so to close out the episode, here are some of the best fanfics we've ever received. And yes, we're including that one.
There are so few good things about winter, thought Dan as he stared out his window admiring the evening sunset, whilst a cool breeze touched his forehead and ruffled his hair. The sky was rippling with pinks and reds, the perfect backdrop for the evening. Dan had been waiting all night. Wait, no, hang on. Dan can't read. Dan had been waiting for this night all week. As Dan returned from Again, Dan can't read. As Dan retreated from the window and continued to baste the chicken he was preparing for dinner. Crikey. He heard the familiar sound of a key in a lock. That must be Simon, thought Dan, although I so wish he had come... It had some form of... Oh, God. That was Freud
Never mind this being poorly written. It's poorly read.
Yeah, God, I'm just... Yeah. To be in my defence, it's the text is rather small on my screen, and because it's an image, I can't make it any bigger.
Common problem. 1 in 5.
Here we go. Okay, let's go again.
It's something about he wished that I'd come.
Yeah. Oh God, no. Next. Cashier number 2, please. Although I so wish he had some form of whistling to signify that it is in fact him and not an intruder. When Simon entered the kitchen, Dan's world transformed. Exactly. Everything felt brighter, safer, more comforting. Simon's presence was a beacon of light in Dan's life. Simon, said Dan, I'm preparing the chicken for tonight's dinner. It should be a glorious meal. Again, it's just a kind of normal, informal tone that I have with my housemate.
Yeah.
You know I'm a vegetarian, said Simon, in a tone that he often holds when talking about his thesis.
Oh my God, I was literally about to say those exact words. That is freaky, Eric.
He's got you.
Okay, right.
I just thought that tonight you might want some meat. It's been so long since you've gorged on any. I've made this coq au vin especially for you, although there is an issue. Yeah. Oh, for fuck's sake.
I love it.
Okay, this is really funny. Yes, Simon replied hesitantly. I seem to have drunk all the vin, sighed Dan, who felt his head spinning, but this wasn't entirely the fault of the wine. So we're just going to have cock tonight, Simon said hesitantly. I guess we are. Prepare to feast yourself on my marvellous cock. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, God, I'm sweating. What's going on? Simon could smell the wine on Dan and noticed he had spilt some near the crotch of the dungarees he was wearing. He knows I want dungarees. Amazing. Dan, you've spilt wine on you, Simon moaned. Take those off and I'll wash it out before it stains. Oh, no. I'm not sure I can read this.
I think you need
Dan removed the... Right, here we go. Come on, brave fest. Stiff upper lip.
Not just that.
Dan removed the dungarees with the same grace as Snake had when shedding their skin. He could feel the cool winter's evening breeze on his legs now. In that moment of coldness, he wanted nothing more than to cuddle Simon to keep warm. There are some good things about winter, Dan thought.
I don't know why, but I was expecting you to say he felt the cool breeze caressing his naked butt cheeks. Like you were naked underneath the dungarees.
Just standing there. Just as Dan handed Simon the garment, there was a knock on the door. Are you expecting anyone? Asked Simon. No, are you, old bean? Simon went and opened the door, and the dungarees in hand. Standing in front of them was a man. He was built like a hat stand, and tall and thin. Upon him was a shabby coat, and sitting on his nose a pair of oversized glasses. Are you Simon Clark? He asked. Yes, Simon replied, unsure of the man's intentions. What's Dan done now? Thought Simon. In that moment the man's eyes brightened, and his attention was immediately piqued. I hear you solve crimes that the police can't, the man said. That's true. Are you here on business? Yes. My world-famous cricket bat has disappeared. I suspect foul play. Very funny. It's priceless. Can you help me locate it? You better come in, Simon told him. The man followed Simon into the lounge where Dan was sat on a leather wing-back armchair, lighting a pipe. How may we be of service? Dan asked. To be continued. Amazing. That was funny.
Oh my
that was
God.
Properly funny.
I like that, Eric. Well done. That is gold. I have to pass over to Dan for our hecking ruddy fanfic.
Very exciting.
Okay, I'll close the tab. This is all over to you, Daniel.
Now, do you want to read your lines in your voice and treat it like a script? Because it is a dialogue between the two of us.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, right, we'll do it that way.
Dear fan and fic, just as promised, I've written a fanfic. However, I should mention that there's a twist. All of the dialogue is from the quotes section of the Wikicast Discord. For those who don't know, this is a section in the Discord where we quote anything anyone says that's either strange or embarrassing. When I say all of the dialogue, I mean all of it. It gets pretty weird. Find the fanfic PDF attached to this email. Also, if you're reading this on this week's podcast, I will have finished my first exam and I have 5 more to go. Wish me luck. P.S. There will not be a sequel. Kind regards, Hurricane Roddy George.
Of course,
luck, George.
in Comic Sans and various colours, yes.
Absolutely.
Other than that, best of luck, George.
Here we go. Hecking Roddy fanfic. We begin.
Oh my God. Here we go.
Two men, Simon and Dan, were sitting on opposite sides of the room, staring at one another. They had just had an argument about what they should talk about in their next broadcast to the members of their cult, the Wikicast readership. Simon was the taller of the two. He looked like Ben Swallow, if Ben Swallow really liked Hello Internet merchandise, and had unexplained gaps in his eyebrows. Simon had recently finished his PhD thesis titled Why It Was Cold This March. This meant that his official title was Doctor, however he insisted on everyone calling him Baguette Daddy. Dan, on the other hand, was a small man.
That's in quotation.
Just as an aside, I object to that being a quotation. I can confirm I am a male.
I've not seen your penis. I don't know. I don't have any definitive proof.
That's going to be on the quotes, presumably.
Yeah, that'll be in a future episode of this.
Amazing. Dan, on the other hand, was a small man. He looked like a toddler who had stolen his clothes from a middle-aged man who shops at M&S. Wow. Thanks, mate. Thanks. That's terribly kind of you. He looked like a cross between Harry Potter, Klaus Baudelaire, a light bulb, an overinflated balloon on a short piece of string, and brains from Thunderbirds. Yes. He sat, curled up in a ball in the corner of a chair next to a bucket of tea. Dan was very angry with Simon. Simon insisted that the baguette memes had gone stale and had no place in the Wikicast. Dan had the complete opposite opinion and wanted to passive-aggressively signal this to Simon by glaring at him. However, while glaring at him, Dan noticed how tight Simon's Hello Internet t-shirt was. His nipples were far too visible for Dan's liking. Dan stared at Simon's nipples. Simon's nipples stared back. This bothered Dan so much he stood up and marched across the room, ready to rant about Simon's provocative nipples. However, just as he was about to start his rant, he glanced at Simon's laptop. He was scrolling through pages and pages of pictures of wheelie bins. Dan looked at Simon with worry in his eyes.
Wheelie bins are the new furries,
Simon said proudly. Dan was both concerned and confused. Simon stood up and ready to defend himself, only to reveal a cactus he was sat on.
Why have I got all this dialogue? I really like the feeling of cactus on my arse.
Simon proclaimed defensively.
I really need to think about words before I say them out of my mouth.
He added. You can never go wrong with a dildo, Dan said jokingly, trying to diffuse the awkwardness.
It's not gay if it's just a baguette.
Simon replied. Suddenly, Dan ran out of the room.
This is a terrible idea.
His giant head wobbled around as he tutted out through the door. Simon was shocked. Was it something he'd said? Surely not. He followed Dan upstairs and found him in the bathroom. Dan was sat on the floor with his hands over his face. Simon tapped him on the shoulder to get his attention. Dan looked up and said apologetically, I got sexually aroused, so I had to leave. Simon understood immediately. Suddenly, they heard a voice from the shower.
What is this? George, what the f*** have you done? This is like a bad bot wrote us a fan fiction.
This is bizarre. Suddenly, they heard a noise from the shower and could see a silhouette of a man through the frosted glass. They could hear a voice. It sounded like Danny Dyer. Yes, you do have to do a Danny Dyer impression. Did you just call me a crackhead? The voice shouted. I feel like he's naked for some reason, Dan said anxiously. Simon nervously opened the door to the shower. It was indeed Danny Dyer.
Of course it was.
And he was indeed naked.
Of course he was, yeah.
Dan looked up and down at Danny Dyer's naked body, and then then looked up to Simon and said, We're just watching porn, and I'm okay with that. Simon also looked at Danny Dyer and said in an unusually high-pitched voice,
That is a tick that's going in many directions.
He then coughed and apologetically said,
My voice goes up by about 7 octaves when I'm about to bust a nut.
Dan nodded.
What?
He fully understood.
What
Beware
is
the rat from
happening?
my gooch, Danny Dyer proclaimed. You up for a threesome? With no hesitation, Simon eagerly replied.
Right, I'm going to get naked.
Dan seemed less keen. Why the sudden penis? He asked. I can't finish off anything larger than 9 inches.
Oh my god.
Dan's lack of enthusiasm greatly angered Danny Dyer, and so he pulled out a laser gun from somewhere and shouted, I'll f***ing rush you, mate. Get out of the bathroom, dickhead. I'll shoot you. Mate, I drink a pint of milk every day, Dan said, puffing out his chest
I could
confidently.
so see you using that as a macho line. Like, I'll f***ing rush you, mate. Mate, I drink a pint of milk every day.
Just to give you what's about to happen. I'll f***ing rush you, mate. Get out of my bathroom, dickhead. I'll shoot you. Mate, I drink a pint of milk every day, Dan said, puffing out his chest confidently. Danny Dyer shot Dan, who then fell to the ground. I'm getting killed by giants, Dan whimpered.
Just f***ing die, it's not that hard.
Simon shouted at Dan as he stepped into the shower. Dan looked up at Simon and with his last words said, I don't like being killed. I'm sad now. It's a little bit frustrating. Simon looked at Dan sprawled across the floor. The rest of this story has been left as an exercise for the reader.
What just happened?
That was a fever dream, and yeah, wow. So this is actually the perfect way to tie in. If you're a kind of an avid reader of the podcast and you'd like to learn a bit more about what the Discord group is about, this is basically it all the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's just insane. It's a great place, but it's also an insane place.
Can we please give that a reverse round of applause? What the f*** was that, George? I hope everyone's ready because this is about to go into the meme Hall of Fame. I think I get the very distinct impression. So I'm going to be reading to you the prologue, The Road to Avaland. It was a glorious late spring morning on the road to Avaland. The winds of magic were drifting up from the south in a gentle breeze, and the sun was beaming down on 2 travellers. Simon von Clarktholomew, war priest of the Empire.
I'm so happy. This is so cool. Oh my god, I'm such a nerd, but this is awesome.
And Daniel of Mormenheim, apprentice imperial battle mage. You're right.
Oh no, I'm not okay. This is too...
It's too much.
Keep going. I'll just sit here and squeal.
We're deep in a heated discussion about the finer points of modern Bretonian choral music. I'm telling you. So how are we going to distinguish our voices here? Because, like, you can
be a deeper voice than me because you...
I mean, okay, yeah, I think I'm meant to be like a kind of a hero if I'm like a war priest of the Empire, and you're like an apprentice. So if I do you as like normal, and I do me as like a booming voice.
Okay.
I'm telling you, canticles are far too negative in general. You need a good canicle to properly extol the glory of the gods. Simon opined. God, this is amazing. We're not even past the first paragraph.
Oh my god. Okay, here we go.
That's utter nonsense. You clearly never... Good morning to you, kind sirs. The two looked up in alarm. They had been so involved in their debate that they had both been ignoring their surroundings. Ahead of them, at the side of the road, a tinker sat next to a battered wooden cart that had clearly seen better days. The cart had been unhitched from a donkey, which was grazing by the side of the road. How may we be of service? Dan replied, regaining his composure and nudging Simon sharply with his elbow. The priest looked sheepish as he lowered the warhammer that he had grabbed from his back when the tinker hailed them. I thought it was an orc, Simon muttered under his breath. Dan had to try very hard not to roll his eyes at Simon for the sheer stupidity of that comment. But seriously, he thought to himself, what orc shuts a friendly hello before attacking? And instead focused his attention back on the tinker. Oh my god. I don't suppose you gentlemen are heading towards Averheim. My cart's thrown a wheel, and it's the nearest place with a wainwright. Alas not, Simon replied. We're on an urgent journey to Salsford, and we don't have time to make a detour. Salsford? The old man queried. I'll warn ye, I've just come from that direction myself, and there's strange goings-on in them parts. Oh, I think he's meant to be West Country.
There's talk of strange folk abroad.
Oh, such as? So now he's West Country. Livestock gone missing, terrible noises overnight, all sorts of howling and screaming. You ask me, there's a demon haunting the village. I arrived yesterday and left as soon as I could this morning. Left me proper unsettled, it did. Excellent! Simon exclaimed. It's no jest, Tinker declared at Simon. Simon scrambled for an apology. Oh, no, sorry, I didn't. I just meant if you only left this morning, then we must be close. Forgive my companion. We have been on the road for 6 days, and weariness appears to have made us forget our courtesy. I'm Daniel, an apprentice at the Yellow College in Altdorf. This here is Simon von Clark-Tholomew, priest of the Empire. Rumours of demonic activity in Salzford reached Altdorf a week ago, and so our masters dispatched us to investigate. As Simon said, we're in some haste to reach the village, but it would be our pleasure to assist you with your cart if we can. Priest of the Empire? Well then, good to meet you. Name's Tom, myself. No offence, Mr. David. I never met a wizard before. Always thought you'd be taller.
Nice. I like it.
Alas, most of the rest of them are, Dan thought to himself, a fact that other apprentices love to remind him of frequently as they could. Tom continued, as for the cart, I caught a rock and the left wheels come loose. Think I cracked the axle as well. Not sure there's much a couple of city types like yourselves can do to help. Again, no offence, but you don't look like the sorts who know how to get your hands dirty. You never know. We might surprise you, Dan thought. He was just about to say as much when Simon cut him off. God's willing, all things are possible, Simon proclaimed, reaching for his hammer again. I'll fix this. Dan had a sudden sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach. Simon, wait, he called out, but the priest was already striding towards the cart. In the name of the Empire! Simon cried out, swinging the hammer sideways with a two-handed grip. Blast. Time for another intervention. Again. Time seemed to slow to a crawl as Dan opened his mind to the winds of magic. He reached tendrils of awareness out to the cart and found the Tinker's assessment was correct. The wheel was loose, but that wasn't the imminent problem. In fact, the hammer blow would probably have fixed the cart if the wheel was the only problem. However, the axle was cracked down the middle and any additional impact would almost certainly split it in two. Dan ran through his options. A spell of healing would be no good, the wood was already dead and that level of green magic was beyond his ability. He could transmute the axle into iron, but wood was a terrible target for alchemy, and anyway, the crack would still be there and the impending force would shatter it completely. Although... Sorry.
Because that was my spell.
Although, if he could somehow harness that force instead. Drawing more deeply on the winds of magic, Dan rapidly placed a spell of adhesion along the crack in the wood. He hoped this would work. His awareness was so deeply fixed on the axle that he felt rather than... that he felt rather than saw the blow when it landed. With the impact ringing through the cart, the air, and his head, he cast an enchantment of containment around the entire surface of the axle. Letting go of the magic, Dan staggered back and, blinking, opened his eyes to survey the results of his frantic spellcasting. Simon was stood next to the cart, leaning on his hammer and admiring the wheel, which, as Dan had hoped, had been straightened up and looked securely attached. Tom's donkey was no longer grazing by the roadside, instead nervously standing alert with nostrils flared. Dan wasn't sure if it had been more upset by the hammer blow or the magic it sensed, but at least it hadn't run off. "My cart! What have you done to my cart?" Tom cried, throwing up his hands in despair. "With the blessings of the gods and my holy hammer, I have fixed it," Simon proclaimed, slapping the newly straightened wheel for emphasis. "You may have fixed the wheel, but you split the axle," Tom wailed as he knelt down to have a look. "I'll report you to the guard for this. Look here, it's all..." "Wait, what? But how?" Tom trailed off as he examined the cart more closely. I love this. I'm like going in like a blunt object and you're coming in and fixing my mistakes, like subtly. Still swaying slightly from his exertion, Dan reached out with his tendril of magic, much more cautiously than before. Amazingly, his frantic plan appeared to have worked. The spell of adhesion was sealing up the crack, while the enchantment of containment had held the force of the hammer blow inward and was now compressing the axle like a clamp. The enchantment would wear off in a few hours, but by then the adhesion should be well and truly set. "As I said, by the power of the gods, your cart is fixed!" Simon exclaimed. Dan kept quiet. He knew from experience there was no point trying to disillusion Simon. It is known. He'd also learnt that rumours and enhanced reputation amongst the locals often open more doors than official paperwork in remote parts of the empire such as this. "Oh, gods be praised, 'tis a miracle!" Tom's demeanour had changed completely again, full of reverence and wonder. "The gods have blessed me this day. Sirs, how can I ever repay you for this divine act?" "No need," said Simon. "Piety is its own reward. When you go from this place, tell those you meet of what has occurred here, and they shall know of the gods' greatness." The tinker was nodding. I shall, praise be. With luck I can now make it to Warden by nightfall." He started to get ready to leave and was soon bustling about, hitching the donkey to the cart. "Actually," Dan interrupted before his efforts went completely unrewarded, "I don't suppose you have any food you could share with some weary travellers." Magic always made him hungry, and he'd had nothing more than jerky, biscuits and hard cheese for the last few days. "Afraid all I've got is an apple. I had a bag full, but Alfie ate the rest," he said, patting the donkey on the head. "I was going to pick up more supplies in Salsford, but left in such a hurry." "No worries. An apple sounds great right now," Dan said. "Well, I've only got the one, so you'll have to share, but you're welcome to it." "Thank you very much." "Thank you very much. That's very kind of you," Simon said, taking the apple. "May the gods grant you safe passage on the roads ahead." "And the same to you," Tom said, climbing up onto the cart. "With the gods on your side, I'll have no problem sorting out that demon in Salsford." With a creak, the cart headed off down the road. Dan could still hear the old tinker burbling about blessings from the gods as he disappeared around a corner and out of sight. Oh my god. Hang on. "Well, I thought that went pretty well, all things considered," Dan said. "Now about that apple, should we go halves?" he asked. "Like I told the old man, piety is its own reward. You shouldn't have asked for any payment," Simon replied. "Oh, come on, it's just an apple, and besides, I'm starving." There was a brief pause when the priest thought about it. "No, I work to deliver messages of God's power and might to the common folk of the Empire, and I will not have them give up their hard-earned possessions in exchange for my services. Since you have robbed an honest man of food without payment, I shall make this apple a sacrifice to the gods." Dan gaped in disbelief. I assume you mean Dan gasped in disbelief. It was hardly...
No, like gaped, as in Dan, I jaw drop.
Oh, that kind of gape.
Yeah.
It was hardly without payment, since we fixed this cart. Sorry, that was my immediate thought.
That's better.
You were so astonished that your ass just hang open.
That's funny.
Okay.
Well done.
It was hardly without payment, since we fixed his cart. "The gods fixed his cart, and thus to Sigma I shall give what is Sigma's due." Oh my god, Simon said, putting the apple on the ground and picking up his hammer again. Dan still couldn't believe the stubbornness of his travelling companion, but at least this was a situation he knew how to deal with. As the priest swung his hammer overhead towards the doomed piece of fruit, Dan plucked a breath of magic from the gently flowing tide and cast it towards the descending hammer. This at least was easy, he thought. The magisters of the Yellow College weren't called metal wizards for nothing. There was a dull metallic thud as the hammer landed square on the apple. As Simon lifted his weapon, Dan released the magic and briefly glimpsed a sharp, axe-like blade at the head of the warhammer, before the metal rippled and flowed like mercury back to its original blunt form. Thankfully for Dan, Simon saw none of this. He was instead staring at the apple in front of him, which now lay in two neat, gently rocking halves. He peered at his hammer, perplexed, and then went back to contemplating the fruit. Simon continued to stare in silence for a long moment, then said, "The gods have decided that you may have half an apple!" How very benevolent of them, Dan remarked, picking up one of the apple halves and taking a bite. Now come on, are you going to stand there all day? We've got work to do. Without looking to see if the priest was following, Dan turned and continued walking down the road towards Avaland. Simon was still there for a moment more, then slung his hammer across his back, picked up the remaining half of the apple, took a contemplative bite, and followed the wizard down the road. And then they f***ed. That's literally what it says.
That's
David.
Absolutely outstanding. I can't even begin to explain how much joy I was in listening to that. Wow, that was awesome.
And now, dear readers, it is the long-awaited return, and believe me, we've both been looking forward to this, to fan fiction. And Hannah Müller, Hannah, who has done so much for this podcast, and, you are an also contender for Archbishop of Banterbury, it's got to be said. In fact, we could probably have co-archbishops. I don't see why we can't. She has written in with the Time Traveller with the Extraordinarily Big Forehead, Chapter 6, which is the long-running series we have about you. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you are a time traveller which I found in the woods whilst I was running, and I took you home, and you have announced to me that you are a time traveller, and now we're trying to make sense of everything. I think that was where we are. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so Hannah's email says, "Dear Simon and Dan, I have once again found the time to write another chapter. It's up to you to decide whether that's good or bad, and I apologise that there isn't much happening this time, but I hope you'll enjoy it anyways. I didn't really find time to properly proofread it because I have Latin, music and German exams coming up this week, so excuse any mistakes. Non est ad astra mollis e terris viva." That's, not going to the stars and staying on Earth or something like that? I'm going to Google translate that.
Something like that.
That's my stab in the dark translation. Let's have a look.
There is no easy way from Earth to the stars.
Oh, I like that.
It's Seneca.
That's good. Well, hopefully through your prose we will find it. She has, however, added a postscript. "I felt so uncomfortable writing this because it involves a bit of smut, and it made me feel like a 10-year-old fangirl pretending to be married to Justin Bieber. What a weird comparison."
Oh my god.
So
Well, brace yourselves, everyone.
I am now going to turn off my screen. I am going to kick back and listen. Cue the music, because here comes the Time Traveller with the Extraordinarily Large Forehead, Chapter 6.
Simon couldn't fall asleep that night. He was lying in bed, restlessly, a million different thoughts crossing his mind. He'd had a long conversation with Daniel this evening and got to know him a lot better than he did before. Even though Simon was sure the stranger, who wasn't so much of a stranger anymore, was telling the truth, he couldn't feel that Daniel was hiding something when it came to the reason his parents had kicked him out of the house, for he didn't want to upset the young man even more. He'd been through enough for the past few days that there was probably a good reason he kept this from Simon, who just hoped the not-so-stranger would be okay. He seemed to be in a pretty bad shape before going to bed after the long conversation the two of them had had previously.
He was a rhombus.
Simon started feeling tired. Beg your pardon?
He was a rhombus.
Great. Well done, mate.
So I'm not proud of that
started feeling... Yeah, great. No, you shouldn't be. Get in the shed. Simon started feeling tired and had almost fallen asleep when he heard a quiet knock on the door of his room. He was immediately awake and almost scared to death until he remembered that Daniel was kind of living in his flat now, because he couldn't just kick the young man out and let him live on the streets, right? But he'd have to think about that for some other time, because he got up and quickly opened the door to find the quite short man, thanks very much, standing in front of him, wearing a shirt and pants that looked almost ridiculous because they belonged to Simon and were far too loose for the tiny body Daniel had. God, it's just all praise coming my way. Thanks very much, Hannah.
Like it's wrong. If you were to wear my clothes, it would look ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily because I have well, okay. Never mind. It gets better. It gets better, everybody. Sir, Daniel said, trying to stop his voice from shaking. "What's up?" Simon responded, still wide awake from the shock he just experienced. I was having nightmares, so I couldn't sleep, and I was wondering if I... Simon interrupted him. "Sure, come in, it's fine." Awkwardly, Dan followed him into the room, which contained a desk with some black machine on it, a chair, a closet, some shelves, and the bed the two men were now sitting on. There was an uncomfortable silence, and the both of them could feel the tension building up until Simon finally disrupted it by carefully putting a hand on his back and asking him if it's all right. I'm sweating. I'm starting to sweat quite a lot.
I think I can tell where this is going. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Here we go, boys. It's going to happen.
I'm in fact feeling much better now, Daniel answered, his voice still shivering a bit, not because he was scared, but because of Simon's hand on his back. Unable to hold back the longing for closeness, he slowly leaned towards the tall man until his head reached Simon's broad shoulder.
Oh, God, here we go.
There was a moment of hesitation, but a few seconds later, Daniel found... Oh, God. Sorry. Sorry. Daniel found himself in strong arms, finally feeling warm and safe again. The two of them laid down on the bed, still hugging closely. Dan turned around, now facing Simon, feeling a breeze from his breath touching his cheeks. Is this okay? The tall man asked the tiny one, still not sure what he was feeling in this situation. Very okay. Oh, God. Sorry, I'm just going to get a little bit closer to the microphone. Locking eyes, the two brought their faces closer together, and just before their lips touched, Daniel remembered why he was here, and now that he should not be doing this, but he banished these thoughts from his head and focused only on the handsome man who was lying in bed with him. Finally, they brought their faces a little closer together and their lips touched softly. Simon thought about pulling back for a moment or two, but then decided to enjoy the moment and not think about the consequences his actions may have. The kiss became more intense, and the tiny man, I'm sorry... The tiny man ran his hand through his hair and gently touched Simon's back after he'd removed his shirt.
Oh,
Jesus, Hannah.
God.
Oh, good God.
Oh, good God. I feel a little bit sick. Okay.
I don't think I can read the rest.
No, come on, man. We're going to make it through this.
I don't think I can do it. Okay, I'm gonna power through. Ready?
Okay, there we go.
This is all gonna go. The rest of this is gonna be in one breath.
Oh my God.
The kiss became more intense, and the tiny man ran his hand through their hair, and they gently touched Simon's back after he removed his shirt. At the same time, Daniel did the same, so he could feel the tall man's heartbeat when he touched the muscular chest. Pulling down on top of him, Simon lay down on his back without parting their lips. The tiny man started breathing heavily, which turned them on even more. He took Daniel's pants off and threw them on the floor, followed by his own ones. Only wearing his boxers, they were making out almost furiously, but Daniel couldn't quite stop thinking about the reason he didn't want to sleep in his room tonight. The nightmare story hadn't been completely made up, but it was definitely missing some important pieces of truth. Even though the recent events were troubling, he didn't want to worry about them right now, and when Simon carefully removed the tiny man's underwear, he focused only on the present and started moaning quietly when Simon started kissing his neck, his chest, and then slowly continued to move downwards.
No! Is that over?
The end. That's it.
Oh,
Bye.
God, Hannah!
See ya.
Hannah, why?
Hannah, what have you done? I mean, in Hannah's defence, I'm fairly sure that both of us at some point have said the smuttier the better. Yeah. So she's only following orders.
Good God, well, that's what the Nazis said. Jesus
Non est ad
Christ.
astra mollis a terra via. Jesus.
Oh my God, I was worried then. I thought you were going to say, in Hannah's defence, I have got a bit of a chub right now. And I was just going to be like, this podcast is over.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore.
No. Whatever the opposite of a chub, my penis has gone back inside me. This is
the opposite of an erection. Oh God, I do feel a tiny bit sick.
Yeah, I'm very sweaty.
Oh God, I'd honestly forgotten how awkward that one was. I'm so sorry, Hannah, for making you do that. Thank you for listening to this best of episode. I can't speak for Dan, but for me at least, creating the Wikicast and seeing the community form around it over the past year has been the most rewarding thing I think I've ever done online. For some reason, you guys latched on to Dan and I. You thought we were entertaining, engaging, or quite possibly just an anthropological oddity. But whatever the reason, I'm so glad that you chose to come with us on this journey and that you formed this amazing community. It's been so much fun. You guys as a community have been so supporting and motivating of each other and of us. And this podcast has been a fantastic excuse to continue my friendship with Dan even after I moved out. You guys have given to me, I think, more than I have given to you. So I am in your debt. And as long as you'll keep listening, we will keep trying to pay back that debt with more episodes of dubious quality and entertainment value. I hope eventually that we make it up to you, because you're the best. Thank you for listening, and join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole. We'll see you next week. Baguette. Happy?